Hundreds of thousands of people from ethnic minorities, including the Uyghur community, are being forced by the Chinese authorities to pick cotton.
These are the faces China never intended us to see. The government has long denied it's running detention camps for Uyghurs, insisting instead they are vocational schools for willing students.
The leftovers of consumerism running out of control. More than half of the 59,000 tons of clothing which ends up in Chile every year ends up dumped in the desert.
I think it's safe to say that most of us know what SHEIN is. In fact, I think most of us have shopped from SHEIN before. I know I have. If there's a slight chance that you don't know what SHEIN is, it's basically an online retailer that's known for selling very cheap, very affordable clothing and accessories. And because it's so cheap and because it's so affordable, it becomes very addicting very quickly. And honestly, I feel that overspending on SHEIN and getting these hauls actually became a trend at some point.
Do y'all see all of this? Like, it keeps going.
Yeah, we got it.
Jag har lagt väldigt stort paket den här gången. Med massor med roliga grejer och en väldigt rolig grej som jag tror.
And you guys, let's be real, the quality is not good at all. It's cheap materials, it's not sustainable, and it breaks easily. SHEIN isn't only known for their affordability and their fashion. They are actually very problematic, and I want to get into that. I want to talk about that. So let's talk about fast fashion and what it means. Fast fashion refers to the production of inexpensive clothing collections that are inspired by recent trends. These clothes are quickly manufactured in large quantities and are often sold at low prices in retail stores. Fast fashion brands prioritize speed and affordability, frequently releasing new collections to keep up with the latest trends and consumer demand. So why is it so bad? Fast fashion is bad because it hurts the environment by using a lot of resources and creating a ton of waste. And it often means that people who make the clothes work in horrible conditions and for low pay. And because the quality is so bad, it encourages us to throw our clothes away instead of using it for a long time. SHEIN produces new clothing at Godspeed to the point that their clothes are almost disposable. They've gotten so good at it that they produce 10,000 new items a day. Let me put that in perspective for you. Zara, which is also a big fast fashion brand, releases around the same number of new products every year. No wonder we can see mountains of fast fashion trash so big that it's literally visible from space. It can take up to 200 years for many of these items to biodegrade, and most are made with synthetic fabrics or treated with chemicals, so it's gonna take a really, really long time. Imagine you're in a dimly lit factory, surrounded by rows of sewing machines humming tirelessly. The air is thick with the scent of sweat and machinery oil. Each day begins before the sun rises and ends long after it sets. You sit hunched over your station, hands moving swiftly to assemble garments for a brand you've never worn and likely never will. The pay is meager, barely enough to cover basic necessities. Despite the exhaustion and monotony you preserve, hoping for a better future for yourself and your family. Yet the reality remains. Trapped in this cycle of exploitation, your dreams feel farther and farther out of reach with each passing day. This is what it's like to work in a sweatshop. Fast fashion brands often mistreat their workers by paying them very little and making them work in horrible conditions. In mid-2020, one of the biggest questions people had is how is SHEIN able to maintain their prices so low? The advocacy group Public Eye responded by reaching out to an organization known for protecting workers' rights in South China, and they couldn't name the organization for security purposes. 2 researchers visited Nankan village where they found narrow hallways blocked by massive bags of clothing and rolls of fabric, posing a huge fire hazard in case of any emergency. They also noted bars on windows and doors, and they didn't see any emergency exits in one of the companies. An anonymous researcher secured interviews with 3 employees, each reporting working similar hours, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the morning, then from 1:30 p.m. to 5:45 p.m., and then in the evening from 7 p.m. to 10 or 10:30 p.m. They work from dinner every day of the week except one, with 1 day off per month. You heard that right, per month. That amounts to over 75 working hours per week. In China, the standard work week is at least 40 hours with at least 1 day off per week, not per month. When Public Eye researchers expressed shock, a worker mentioned earning 10,000 yuan in a good month. Workers are paid per item of clothing, and the more complicated the item is, the more they earn. Some workers don't see an issue because factories like these don't have to issue contracts, but according to Chinese law, companies with over 100 employees are required to provide contracts to employees. If what these workers are saying is true, then this would be a massive problem for a company of SHEIN's size. After putting a report together, Public Eye emailed it to SHEIN, and as soon as they emailed it, they immediately received an automated response. The SHEIN sustainability team has received your suggestions and feedback, and we will follow up on related matters as soon as possible. Thank you. A few days go by and they resent the letter and they just received the same response. So Public Eye decided to send a report to numerous social media outlets, and they reached out to SHEIN to see if they could get a comment. Upon this outreach, SHEIN finally responded to Public Eye stating, "SHEIN has no comments at this time as we await a copy of the report and an opportunity to review. We take all supply chain matters seriously and look forward to hearing back." Long story short, there were no changes and no accountability. Literally nothing was done. On October 1st of 2021, CBC Marketplace, a Canadian website, released an article with the beginning sentence, "Out of 38 products ordered from fast fashion giant, CBC Marketplace found 1 in 5 items had elevated levels of chemicals including lead, phthalates, and PFAs." You can imagine that one of these companies was SHEIN. In fact, researchers found that a jacket made for toddlers had an unacceptable amount of lead. Just how much, you may ask? Well, 20 times the amount acceptable for a child to be exposed to. 20 times more than what is acceptable for a little toddler, a baby, to be exposed to. That is horrible. That is very scary. And to make it even worse, they bought a tiny little red bag, and that little red bag had 5 times the amount of lead acceptable for an adult to be exposed to.
The harmful effects include a range of effects, everything from increasing obesity to impairing immune function, to different types of cancers, to even diabetes.
And if you don't know what lead is, it is basically a heavy metal that is toxic to humans, especially children. Exposure to lead, even in small amounts, can lead to serious health issues, including developmental delays, learning difficulties, behavior problems, and damage to the brain, kidneys, and other organs. And that is so scary, you guys, because I know people in my life that shop on SHEIN frequently, not only for themselves, but for their kids. And reading that, it literally gave me chills. I had to call them up immediately and I was like, "Hey, you guys should really reconsider purchasing from SHEIN." And I sent them the article, so just keep that in mind. In 2022, Bloomberg investigated rumors that SHEIN clothes were made from cotton obtained from slave labor in China's Xinjiang region. Activists and human rights groups have raised concerns about this for years. So Bloomberg decided that they're gonna check this out, and they sent 2 sets of clothing to a lab for testing. The lab used isotope analysis to study the cotton fiber's carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen levels, which can reveal where the cotton was grown based on climate characteristics. The results were clear that the cotton in both sets of clothes was indeed from the Xinjiang region. This is a problem because there are some serious allegations that the Chinese government has placed more than 1 million people into detention camps and is somehow forcing them or coercing them into non-stop labor. So the US government believes that all products from Xinjiang are the result of detaining or prison labor and situations of forced labor, including intimidation threats, withholding of wages, and abusive living and working conditions. The people said to be in these camps are the Uyghurs, a Turkic ethnic group native to Xinjiang region. Most Uyghurs are Muslim, and according to United Nations, China's treatment of them amounts to crimes against humanity. China, just to be clear, firmly denies the forced labor allegations, calling them a huge lie. I mean, why would they admit to it? So this is actually a really big problem from SHEIN, because either they admit that they're using cotton from Xinjiang and they lose all their American customers, or they deny it and they risk angering their homeland. And this has been an ongoing problem with SHEIN, and they're kind of just trying to ignore it. But yeah, in conclusion, I think that SHEIN is just way too problematic. There was more stuff that I found in my research that I wish I could sort of include into this video, but it's way too much information. I encourage you to do your own research and really look into SHEIN and really pay attention to how problematic they are, how they treat their workers, how they source their materials, and it's just, we really need to look more into it. I can confidently say that from now on, going forward, I am never shopping from SHEIN ever again. But anyways, you guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this video, let me know down below in the comment section and let me know what you want me to make a video on next. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And I guess I'll see you on my next one. Bye guys.